This is the heart rate monitor watch by Tushy, and I have another one of their products. They do make products that are full of features, but they're also pretty complicated to use. So I'm hoping that this video will clear up some of the mystery of how this watch works. And because the user's manual, which was actually pretty good, it was helpful to me to get me started. There were several things I still had to play with the watch to be able to figure out. Overall, the watch is a slightly smaller version of some of the other ones they have. The watch face itself is about little over 1 inch, 1¼ inches. It's probably about 1¾ inches total in diameter. And this is what it looks like on a medium-sized female's hands. The wristband is a pretty comfortable rubber band. It does get a little hot when you're exercising. It's not super breathable, that's the only thing. But it looks nice, and it is not particularly a replaceable band, so be aware of that. This watch itself is pretty reasonable in price, but it is loaded with features. It has 5 buttons on it and then a heart rate sensor. This top button up here on the top left is going to be your light button, and you won't be able to see this specifically right now in a bright room, but in a dark room it lights up the whole face, which is extremely helpful. It has this middle button is the mode button, and this is where you're going to cycle through some of the different features. Right now you'll notice that we're on a screen that shows the date and the time. I actually really like having the date on my watch, and on smaller watches it's not always that common. I do like the fact that it has the date right up here. You can choose it to show either the month and then the day, or the day and then the month. And that you will cycle through when you press the set button is over here on the middle of the right hand side, and if you press and hold this button, it'll enter into the setup mode where you can then set obviously the time, also set the year, you will set the month and the day, and it will also cycle through and it'll set up your birthday at that point. It'll set up the year you were born, the day, the month, your sex, and your weight. And the reason it's doing all that is because it's going to use some of that for the calculations that you can cycle through in some of these different features. So that's all found from this screen when you press and hold the set button, and you'll press and hold that, and then you will cycle through them by using this bottom button down here on the left. That's the up button, and that will change your values. It'll change it up. You can't go backwards. You're going to have to just go up every time, and then you press the set button to enter to the next one. Okay, so I mentioned that there's this screen. We also have this screen here, which is the alarm screen. The alarm screen, there are actually 5 different alarms on this watch, so you are loaded with alarms. You should never be late to anything. The alarm one right here, as you can see, is set for 6 a.m. And to be able to set that again, it's going to be the set button, and I'm going to show you this because this is a little faster. You can tell the alarm is off. If you want to change it to on, you're going to press this up button, and that'll turn it to on. I'm just going to turn it back to off. You press the set button, that sets the time, the hour, and the minutes, and that's the gist of that. If you want to cycle to the next alarm, because I told you there's 5 alarms, you're going to press this up button once it's out of the setup screen, and that'll take you to alarm 2. And you can cycle through all of them. And you have a delay here. This delay button is telling you how long you want the alarm to go off for. You can go off for, it can chime, or beep or whatever, for 30 seconds, or it can beep anywhere up to 4 minutes. I didn't find it a terribly loud alarm, and I'm actually hopefully going to be able to set this up for you here in just a second, but so you'll be able to hear it, but it does beep. You also have a choice of a signal button. This signal button is going to be, basically it's just a chime every hour on the hour. So I have mine set up to chime, so that when it turns 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever, it'll chime, and I'll just sort of hear that. Okay, now going back to this one, this chronometer, or whatever it's called, is going to be your lap timer. And to be able to turn it on, you're simply going to press this up button, and that turns it on. Okay, and you can see the little man flashing there. If you want to split lap, which is a nice feature, it means it'll time 1 lap as opposed to the whole thing. You press that up button down here at the bottom, even though it's an up, it's at the bottom. And that will tell you how long it took for 1 second, but meanwhile the clock is still ticking. I wish there was a way to freeze it on that up screen, but there isn't. So you look at it, you say, okay, 19 seconds, but I've really been running for 23 seconds or whatever. Okay, now if you press and hold the save button, that'll take you to lap 2. You can actually cycle through, and I have forgotten. There's the timer. You can hear that, and unless you press any button, it'll go off for 30 seconds because that's what I have it set up for. Okay, it will save up to 35 laps. So you can do that by simply pressing this set button, and the set button will then take you to the next lap. To stop the lap, you're going to press